Good morning and welcome to the Automation Morning Show for Thursday, January 11th, 2024. Man, it's already January 11th. January's just screaming by. Well, I hope your January 11th is off to a great start this morning. And if you're first time tuning in, this is the Automation Morning Show where I cover what's new and happening in industrial automation. And of course, my name is Sean Tierney from Insights in Automation. And with that said, let me go over here and look at the board. We are using new software to stream to Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, Twitter X, and Rumble. So we're going live now and to all those platforms. And the audio edition will be available later in the day if you're listening to us via the podcast. And everything looks great. The audio looks good. I know it was a little low earlier. Last time we used this software, the volume was a little low. So I've cranked that up. And hopefully everything's working on your side. I do have the chat up. It's a new chat, so I'm not sure of all the functions and features of it. But with that, let's go ahead and get started. The first thing we'll do is we'll thank our sponsor here, Siemens. They're sponsoring today's show, so it's ad-free. So we really appreciate their sponsorship today. If you want to learn more about Siemens, you'll see a link there in the with all the other links over at automate.news. From there, we go over to our first press release today, and I thought this was interesting. ABB acquires 7sense. Now, this is an AI-enabled mobile robot startup, and I think it was best as described down here. They are a leading provider of AI-enabled 3D vision navigation technology. So congratulations to 7sense and ABB on the acquisition. From there, we go over to Profi News, and I think we covered this late last year, but they're announcing here that IO-Link Wireless is now an international standard. So if you don't know about IO-Link Wireless, check out our Core Tigo episode of the Automation Podcast. You can do some really cool high-speed communications with hundreds of devices with IO-Link Wireless. But in any case, this is in this article, they're talking about how IO-Link Wireless is now part of the IEC 61139-3 standard. And so congratulations to the IO-Link folks. From there, we go over to Emerson. They just announced a new pilot-operated relief valve for enhanced storage tank reliability and protection. So you can see it right there. So congratulations on the release of their new Fisher 63 EGLP-16 device. And Pepperl+Fuchs has a new article out about their portfolio of safe absolute linear positioning systems, which go all the way up to SIL3 and PLE. And they have one that is for safe absolute positioning, which is, takes in two read heads here. It takes in two read heads to give you safe position and safe speed detection. They had another one here that uses a data matrix code to give you the absolute position. I think we've covered those. You put that code along the, let's say it's a hoist or some type of crane, right? You put that tape along it, and this will, with the vision and the block, will give you the precise location of where you are on that, let's say a long hoist system. So very interesting products from P&F. From there, we go over to SMC. They have a new flow controller for ear out. They've been releasing a lot of updates to their flow controller lines, and we've been seeing those over the last few weeks. And one of the things that stands out to me on this one, though, is the display. Very interesting, high visibility, lots of colors on it, and just very cool stuff here. So for those listening to the podcast, this is the PFC A7 series. Next up, we have a new announcement from Keyence. And I don't know if this product was just updated or brand new. It seems like it's an update to the product. But in any case, this is their confocal displacement sensor, the CL3000 series. And of course, the link includes links to the catalog and all that. But this, it gives you the ability to measure thicknesses of products, whether they be liquid or solid. And they say it's great for thickness measurement. You can see if you have multiple sheets, you can see how thick it is. And it works with all kinds of surfaces, including mirrored surfaces, unfinished metals, ceramics, and adhesives. So if you're looking for that type of product, there's a new one out there from Keyence. And from there we go over to this article, and I'm including this not because I think most of you are going to be building your own industrial computers and need an industrial PC motherboard from ASRock Industrial. But the fact that they're promoting that they now have these motherboards available with Core 14 Gen Intel processors, I think that's important because I see a lot of people, they're bragging about having 12th Gen. And 12th Gen is now 2 gens old. So just releasing a 12th Gen now, I don't understand the thought process of people being so proud and having press releases of having an older industrial computer generation of Intel support. So with that said, one thing I do want to say about this, and I've heard rumors about this, but you know, Intel's Core 14, right? So Gen 14 of Intel's iCore processors, they're calling it a refresh. So it's really the 13th gen, just a refresh. It's not a brand new generation. So very interesting there. I haven't been over to Intel's website or any of the computer websites to read up about that and why they didn't just come out with a new gen like they typically do every couple of years. But in any case, just be aware that you may not get as much bang for your buck by going from 13 to 14 as you typically would, like maybe going from 12 to 13. So just keep that in mind when you're looking for your next gen computers. With that, let's go over to our next article. Teledyne, DALSA has a new edition of their vision software. This is called their Sapira vision software. So if you're using Teledyne DALSA cameras, and I know them as just DALSA before Teledyne bought them, but in any case, if you're using that software, there's a bunch of new features. I'm not going to go through it here, but I did want to mention that out to the audience this morning. Now, from there we go to Automation Direct. I noticed that they have a new post here on their Z-Range safety switch systems. This allows you to have up to 30 safety devices interconnected in one string go into a single safety relay. So if you're looking for a product like that, I know a lot of vendors have those, but this was new today, so I wanted to cover it on the show. From there, we go to new products of January from Profi News. This is Profibus, Profinet International. They also do IO links and OMLOCs. And I think they added something else recently too. I don't remember. But in any case, let's run down these new products. First of all, we have the world's first, you've seen this a lot lately with Ethernet APL. We have the world's first certified Profinet over Ethernet APL temperature transmitter. Remember, Ethernet APL, or single peer Ethernet, right, which is a kind of a simpler version of Ethernet APL, right? Ethernet APL includes intrinsically safe, you know, for explosive environment type certifications. In any case, Ethernet APL is just a physical layer, right? So it's a peer of Ethernet, it's a single peer Ethernet type network, but it's just a physical layer. So you can put really any protocol over that. But the thing is getting certified over Ethernet APL because you have to go through all the testing again. So this new iTemp TMT86 from Endress Hauser, one of the partners or founders of Ethernet APL, that consortium, they definitely you know, have the world's first now. iTemp TMT86 temperature transmitter over Ethernet, you know, Profinet over Ethernet APL. Another product we've already talked about, but I did want to bring up today because it's on this list, is the remote I/O modules with Profinet from Acromag, right? So we talk about Acromag and Acromaggie, the cartoon spokesperson for Acromag, and we've talked about their I/O system before and how they supported, I believe it was Ethernet IP and Modbus TCP, but they recently added Profinet, and so that announcement's finally made it to the Profi News. We also have a new vacuum transducers with Profinet from Thyricon. And so if you're looking for those, that's there. And from SICK, a vendor we know very well, we have a new laser distance sensor with IO link, and this is the DT80. I believe we did cover this last year when it came out. As far as servo motors with Profinet, Applied Motion Products also has a new line of servo motors with, let's see here, they're 100 watt to 3 kilowatt with torque up to 11 Newton meters, okay, and it speeds up to 6,000 RPM. So those have various models support motion control through Profinet protocol. And then, of course, we have another one from Nanotech, which is a compact drive with Profinet. And that's it. So a lot of new products for January that either have Profinet or IO Link in them. From there, we go over to our featured product today. Today, we're featuring, in honor of our sponsor, Siemens, we have our very own Siemens S7 1200 and 1500 course. This is an online course. This is a buy once, own forever. And you get all the future updates for free, and you get support. And that's why we have so much equipment. Thanks to Siemens, we have so much equipment so we can support you. If you have questions, it's all here, ready to be powered up and go live if you have a question that you need us to look at. So in any case, that's over at theautomationschool.com. Next up, we have a story from Opto 22. They just released a new firmware update for their I/O modules. And I thought this was very interesting because what they did is they added, based on feedback, to their DC input modules, they added the ability to sense AC, right? So I believe it's 10 to 24 or 10 to 35. Let's see if we can find it here. 10 to 25 volts AC. So they added that feature with a firmware update. So apparently the hardware was already rated for AC inputs. They just never did anything in the software or firmware to support that. So, great to see vendors adding that kind of support after the fact. So from there, we go over to Copia. Now, Copia, who last year we talked about when they added support for TIA Portal, they now have support for Siemens Step 7 5.x. So a lot of people have stayed on version 5. They didn't go to TIA Portal. And so you can now use Step 7 5.x with Copia. So Copia source control allows you to store your automation code inside of a Git-based system, as well as it has what we call device link, where it goes out and uploads those and runs comparison reports for you. We had them come on the show twice to talk about it. So if you're interested, check out the Automation Podcast. From there, we go over to AnyBus. And they have some new news here. Their wireless bot 2 now supports roaming. So they have this wireless device for AGVs and AMRs. And previously, it didn't support roaming. Now it does. Roaming's important because if you have an AMR AGV that's going between buildings, which is not so uncommon, right? Or between, a lot of times you'll have two buildings which are merged together, but the wireless, they need two different wireless networks. So, or you'll have tunnels or corridors that go between buildings. So roaming can be very important. So congratulations to AnyBus on this update. From there, we go over to Grace. They have a new article this week. They usually drop one every Wednesday. And this one's about enhancing your industrial control panel safety and efficiency by adding bulkhead connectors. And so everybody knows Grace for their Grace ports and other products. But in any case, so if you're interested in that, another interesting article from Grace Technologies. Next up, I'll tell you, the guys over at Aveva are working overtime. They dropped a ton of product update blogs and videos. So it seemed like every product manager over at Aveva did a product update blog and video. So I'm not going to show them all. So I just picked a few of them. The first one I picked was Aveva Historian. And I was very curious about this to see if it was the same or different from Pi Historian. From what I read, and there's not a lot of information I could find on this quickly this morning, but this is not Pi Historian. This is not OSI Pi. This is, they used to call it Wonderware Historian. So in any case, apparently it works with any system. And so they have an update. If you're using the Aveva Historian, then the R2 release for 2023, there's a bunch of new features in there. Also, I thought was interesting is Aveva Plant SCADA. That's the old SciTech. So SciTech was an up-and-coming, really popular SCADA system. I believe it was from down under, and a lot of people were using it, and it was generating a lot of buzz, I think, in the early 2000s, if I remember correctly. And, well, they bought them. So they've relabeled the SciTech SCADA Aveva Plant SCADA. And I'm very curious, how does that differ in functionality? Because I thought there was a lot of overlap there with Wonderware InTouch. So in any case, but there's an update on that if you're using that product. And then if we go over to the final one, this one is the Aveva InTouch HMI update. And they added some really cool stuff, including UDTs, right? So very cool. A lot of PLCs have those kind of structures. So they wanted to add that into their software. They also added SVG imports and some other really cool stuff. Now, I did reach out to the product marketing manager on LinkedIn. Not all of them check on them, but I did reach out to them to see if I can get them on the Automation Podcast. We've had so many great SCADA vendors on, but we've never been able to get anybody from Aveva on. So, well, who knows? If you know somebody at Aveva, encourage them to come on our show. The Automation Podcast, or a new show I'll talk to you about in a little bit that we have, we call Tech Talk. So in any case, from there, we go over to a story from Universal Robots. Now, they have a new story about cobot welding. We've seen cobot welding. Now, cobots, when we first started the show, cobots were in the news a lot. But towards the later part of last year, we've seen a lot about cobot welding. And Universal Robots has a new article out called Cobot Welding from Science Project to Mainstream Automation in 6 Short Years. So we've seen a lot of vendors getting in on this. Welding, there's a lot of parts of industry where there's labor shortages, right? A lot of the younger generation, they don't look at welding as part of their future. They're more high tech. They've grow up with touch screens. They want to do more in that space. And a lot less people are, gravitating towards the more manual jobs. So those jobs still need to get done. So people are looking for a way to automate them. It's just like when the car came out, right? The people who were making buggy whips had to find new jobs doing something else. And that's the way technology works, right? People gravitate to the newer stuff, and the older stuff needs to be automated somehow. And we've seen that in farming, we've seen that in transportation, in so many different industries. But in any case, so this is a new article from Universal Robots. From there, we go over to an article from Siemens. I thought this was very interesting. Predictive maintenance, right? So that's been something we've talked about for decades. But here they're comparing the proof of concept, which is to say that does it technically work, right? So a lot of times you do a proof of concept. Hey, can I collect all this data from all these things and produce the reports I need? And they can contrast that to proof of value, right? So a lot of times, you place the order if the proof of concept works, but is there any value there? Will anybody actually use the reports, or can you incentivize the people to actually use and monitor the reports that the system generates? And so I thought it was an interesting article, so I included it in today's list. Talking about Siemens, one of the new shows I've started for 2024 is called Tech Talk. Now, we've had episodes of the Automation Podcast which were Tech Talks, but and with this one, I really wanted to just do something totally different. So we've had a lot of people I've invited on the Automation Podcast to give us like a formal presentation, and a lot of vendors have said, I'm not comfortable doing that. I'd rather just do like a kind of like a roundtable discussion about it. And so we haven't been able to cover those products because we couldn't find people to come on and do their presentations, right? And so that's why I started this new live stream. It's called Tech Talk, or Automation Tech Talk. And I talked to, who was going to be my guinea pig. Well, the people who have been on my show the most, Siemens, they've been a great support of the show. We've also had Rockwell on a lot, and a lot of other vendors. Now I'm naming vendors. I don't want to forget Banner and P&F and all the people who have been so awesome coming on our shows. But in any case, Schneider, we've done a lot with Schneider lately. But in any case, so I figured if there was one guinea pig, I'd have the folks from Siemens come on. And we did our first Tech Talk on Tuesday after the morning show. And we just sat around and talked with the product experts on their virtual PLC, the Siemens S7-1500V. And very interesting conversation. Of course, I'm trying to juggle with simulation and digital twin and soft PLCs and virtual PLCs and trying to get that all straight in my head during the conversation. And I don't know if you're like me, when you think of edge, you're thinking small, compact, and inexpensive. I don't know why I think that, but not all edge applications are small, inexpensive, and compact. So in any case, I thought it was a great episode. If you kind of like that, this will be available audio only in the future. I just got to find the time to set up a new podcast. I do have the audio recording ready to go, but just choosing anyways, I won't bore you with the details, but someday I will be hiring people to do some of these smaller things for me. But in any case, I thought it was a really good episode, and if you're interested in virtual PLCs and soft PLCs and that kind of stuff, I think you'll enjoy this as well. So the best place to find that is theautomationblog.com, or any other place we live stream to: Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, Twitter, and X, and Rumble. So in any case, from there, we go over to an article from the Society of Manufacturing Engineers, SME, and they have a new article about automation production tracking optimizes OEE. So I think we're all familiar at this point with overall equipment effectiveness or efficiency, depending on who you talk to. And I used to love using Plant Metrics back in the day. I think it's Factory Talk Metrics now, but Plant Metrics was just based on Rascal or Transaction Manager. And, just creating those OEE reports, right? And so I think I showed you guys my bottling demo before, which Rockwell borrowed without permission. and used in their marketing collateral for 15 years. But that was designed to generate information for an OEE system. And so OEE is important. I know some people have done a great job. Some plants have done a great job implementing it, while others have not. And I think this article talks about how you can be successful with your OEE deployment by doing automatic production tracking, right? And so a lot of people just end up with a lot of data, but they don't actually turn that data into information. That's what OEE systems can do, but you've got to get the right data, and you have to get it in the right format to be able to make it useful. So I thought it was an interesting article, and you guys may too. From there we go to Premio, and I really enjoyed this article. It's what is the difference between Thunderbolt and USB Type-C? And I know we've covered articles like this in the past, but it's been a few months, and I thought they did a great job covering it. I'm going to add this with the edu tag over at automate.news because I thought it was very educational. And one of the things I really liked about, USB 4 is very much like Thunderbolt, but there's a couple things you can't do with USB 4. And one of them is daisy chaining. Now, daisy chaining can be a game changer, right? Because trying to run like all the USB devices I have, you should see the pile of USB hubs I have here, right? 3.0 hubs and expensive cables, and daisy chaining could be a game changer because you don't need a hub. And I'll tell you, it's just this, when you're running lots of USB devices, you can just run into all kinds of problems, especially with the cables and their durability and them lasting long time. So we've been at this for over 10 years now, and I'll tell you, it's been a little bit of a nightmare. So daisy chaining can definitely be a game changer when it comes to that, and that's where Thunderbolt, especially version 3 and 4, which is has the same physical design as USB-C, becomes I think could be a really game changer. But besides that, when you start comparing to USB 4 and Thunderbolt 3 and 4, they really do very similar things. Otherwise, they support up to 100 watts of power. They can support 4K monitors, up to, like USB 4 goes up to 4 gigabits, just like Thunderbolt 3 and 4. So you can see all this on the chart if you're watching. But for me, it's the daisy chaining that I just think is going to be big. But in any case, great article from Premio, so I wanted to share that with you. We have a shorter article over at Global American about choosing the right onboard storage for your industrial computers, and I thought they did a good job of going through SATA, MVE, and M2. And so if you're interested in that, check that out. And from there, we have an interesting article from Antera. Now, Antera is an industrial switch company. Predominantly, that's how we know them, and they've been on the show and talked about their switch products. But this article is entitled Revolutionizing Manufacturing, the Role of Industrial AI. And I thought this was very interesting. I'm just going to cover some of the bullets with you. So they have, I think, 4 industrial AI use cases. The first one is predictive maintenance. And we've talked about how algorithms are getting better and better, and just really empowering predictive maintenance to be like next gen, right? Just like our home speakers are really next gen from when they first launched, right? From when Siri first came out, and now what Siri can do on your iPhone, or what Alexa or these other devices can do. It's night and day. They've invested so much money and research into these things that they really can do some amazing things, right? So we're seeing that with AI, both in predictive maintenance, and I'll jump down to number 4, machine vision. So we've talked about that a lot. We've had people on like Balluff, and we had people on like IFM to talk about their smart cameras and readers, right? And how AI is just revolutionizing that, making it so much simpler than, if you were doing vision 30 years ago, it was very cumbersome, right? With all the boxes and things you had to set up, and amazing how much easier it's getting with these new with this new code they've come up with, which a lot of people call AI. Another one they talk about is supply chain. Let me see if I can say that correctly. Supply chain management. See, this is live TV, so you make a mistake, it stays in. But in any case, I remember back in the day where distributors started going to vendor-managed inventory, and the vendors had these big data sets. They knew their production capabilities, and they could monitor the distributors, their inventory live. And they could determine when they needed an order, when they needed to send them something new. They could look at histories and trends. And that's really next generation type of things that you saw in the retail maybe 20 years before, with them all opening up their own distribution centers and getting away from independent distributors. And so I definitely think we'll see more and more of that on the supply chain side. And a lot of times, if you buy a product from like let's say a Best Buy, ours is closed, we don't have one anymore, but that serial number is automatically registered from you to the vendor, so they know that you already have the product. So that's pretty cool. But in any case, the last one they talk about is lights out manufacturing. And this one I don't buy, because the more automation you put in, the more support you're going to need, right? You have lots of robots that are going to need maintenance, right? So this whole lights out manufacturing, I know a lot of people are gung-ho for that, but I think you're always going to want to have people in the mix, right? And you'll see that from a lot of the AMR and AGV companies. They talk about collaboration. Of course, the Cobot people talk about that too. But in any case, interesting article, so I wanted to share it this morning. From there, we have an article from DigiKey. This is talking specifically about specifying soft starters and the examples they use. I'm assuming this is sponsored by Schneider, because they're using Schneider soft starters as an example in this article. And so if you need some brushing up on soft starters, or have a junior person on your staff, you may want to have them check out this article. From there, I just did want to announce that we did release, yesterday was Wednesday, and we did at 3:30 have our latest podcast out. Now, this one is sponsored by Schneider, meaning no ads. So whenever a company comes in and say, hey, we want to underwrite the cost so it'll be ad-free, you don't have to see any ads. Even on YouTube, you don't have to see any ads. So that's great, right? So in any case, we really appreciate it when they do that, because it takes us about 8 hours to produce each episode. So in any case, this latest episode, this is 187. And this is on their Ultivod machine drives. Now, we do get into the process drives a little bit at the end. We kind of just kept going and going. It's still about an average length, about 40, 45 minutes. But in any case, I really learned a lot about their drive line, and they have some awesome software. So definitely worth checking out. I love the software, the built-in trending, and the software works with almost all of their drives. And I thought the guys did a great job over at Schneider. Really just kind of making it accessible, telling some funny stories while we were going through the podcast and so on. So really look forward to having them back on. It's really been a pleasure. We've done PLCs, we've done HMIs, and we've done drives now with them. And it's just great. We want to do this with all the vendors, because we are fans of industrial automation, and we want to know what everybody's doing. We want to be up to speed. And, I think the days are gone where you just use one product, even if they're, one brand name, even if their product is bad for the application you need it for. Not every brand's going to have the best in class in every product, right? Now, a lot of vendors have very good products in most applications, and that's cool. But sometimes you need to use a different product to get the exact performance you need. And so knowing about what the other guys are doing, I think it's important. And in any case, all these big vendors, they wouldn't stay in business if they didn't make good products. So we know they all make good products. But in any case, we do have some new podcasts already recorded. We get some more in the bucket to be recorded. So we're excited to keep the automation podcast going in 2024. We're going to try to do 52 episodes again this year. It's pretty intensive to do that, recruiting vendors to come on and everything that goes into it. But we want to keep it going, because all the metrics we have show we're number one in industrial automation for a show and podcast. So, and that's because of you, our audience. That's not because of us, but it's because of you guys. You guys are just great. From there, we go over to our featured guide today. Today I'm featuring our S7-1200 guide. So if you're a regular viewer of the show, we have over 1,700 articles and videos, and I'm sure it's over that, but I'm just going to continue to use that number until I have a chance to do the year-end tallies that we always have to do. But in any case, our S7-1200 guide has over 40 videos and articles in it. It's completely free. Just go to automationblog.com and click on guides, and you'll see all the different guides we have. These are not all the products we cover. These are just the products that we have like 40 or more articles on or videos on. So we do cover Mitsubishi, we do cover Schneider, we do cover a lot of different vendors up there, Banner and a lot of these people, IFM. But the guides are the ones where we have like a massive number of articles on. So in any case, from there, we go over to events, right? So what's coming up? So if you're interested in learning about Profinet, which is just, an industrial automation communications over Ethernet, that's the way I look at it. They have some one-day classes coming up in January and February. So in San Diego, it's January 30th. San Jose, it's February 15th. Seattle, it's February 29th. So the West Coast for the win, apparently, in these training classes. So the link will be at automate.news if you want to know exact dates and times and costs, but I did want to share that with you this morning. We also have Horner Automation. They have their weekly live stream coming up. It's in 5 days from now on January 16th at 2 p.m. They're going to be talking about what's going to be new for their products in 2024, what they're working on. I think this week's was what came out in 2023. Now, if you're not familiar with Horner, they do a weekly live stream. It's one of the reasons we cover on them is they're constantly talking about industrial automation every week, right? But we also got them on our show, and it was so interesting to learn about their all-in-one PLC HMI I/O system and the distributed I/O. And they support things like, you hear all these things like MQTT, Ethernet IP, BACnet IP, Modbus TCP. They even have some things that support DeviceNet, which I kind of joked that I just picked up some old DeviceNet Butterstick I/O to cover in my courses. So I definitely suggest checking out this episode. This is last week's episode, P186, podcast 186. And Chuck is just a great presenter, great guy to listen to, very technical, been in the industry for a very long time. So very interesting podcast, podcast number 186. From there we go to downloads. We get new firmware for the Sematics S210. Now there was actually multiple links to this. I'm only including one. This is a version 6.3. But be aware of that if you're using those. There's also a new image, like a hard drive image for the ET200 SP Open Controller. So I say hard drive image or SSD image, or you know what I mean, right? So in any case, from there we go over to also they updated their AI software development kit over at Siemens. One more thing. Getting started with Siemens Industrial AI Portfolio. There's a new download there as well. Now, as far as documentation and literature, Rockwell released an updated version of their FactoryTalk Analytics Data View User Guide. So this is version 4.02. So from there, they also released, I thought this was interesting, Operational Digital Twin Application Profile. In this application, they have FactoryTalk Optics. I had somebody write in and say, how come you're not covering optics? I just want to let you know, we have reached out to them several times to get them on the show. They're just so busy launching a new product, they don't have time to come on. So there is, if you went to Automation Fair, or if you want to talk to your distributor, there is a lot of the collateral from Automation Fair last year on FactoryTalk Optics. I get to send in a couple of sessions. I don't do hands-on labs because I leave that for the customers, the paying customers. But in any case, there's a lot of stuff up there on FactoryTalk Optics. We have an open invitation to Rockwell to come on the show. You guys know that. Actually, an open invitation to all industrial automation vendors to come on our show. But in any case, this application profile includes or covers FactoryTalk Optics, Emulate 3D, MagMover Lite, and then some Microsoft Azure products. Okay, so from there we go over to Emerson has some new publications out. The first one up is their 64 and 67C direct operated regulators. They also had a new quick start guide on the Rosemont 3051G pressure transmitter. And finally, they had an update on their FieldView 4400 digital position transmitter. Okay. As far as Siemens goes, they had an update on their industrial AI software development toolkit. And they also had, and I don't know anything about this product, but it looks cool. They have a new manual on their Robot Pick AI version 1.1. And with that, we go into our science and technology section, other science and technology outside of industrial automation. Two articles I wanted to share with you today. The first one is about a chip that was shown at CES 2024. This AI chip from New Chips and EU Chips can sit in a PCIe expansion bus and allows computers like desktop computers to run AI, right? So like I think the example here, they demonstrated running Meta's popular Lambda 2 7B large language model offline. So it wasn't connected to a supercomputer in the sky like most of the time when you're using these AR. It was run completely offline using this AI chip that was just added to a standard computer. So I thought that was interesting. And there was another interesting article here. It's talking about single photon source reaps gain for quantum internet. So this is kind of a heady article, but what I thought was interesting about this is they used instead of doing something And most of the times to get a single photon source, they have to do some kind of like really rare earth stuff, or they have to jump through a lot of hoops, cryogenic or whatever. But in this case, they were able to take a simple fiber optic cable that was doped with a common material, and using a stepper motor to stretch it out to make it very thin, right, a very precise diameter, they were able to very cheaply make a single photon source. So I thought it was interesting to see how they were using the stepper motor to get that precise control for that width of that. And of course, that happens all over industry today, but that they were doing it to try to get a quantum internet or quantum communications, very, very high speed. I thought it was interesting, so I wanted to share with you. And with that, I want to thank our sponsor today, Siemens. The reason this show was ad-free is because of Siemens sponsorship. Thank you, Siemens. Also want to thank everybody who's following us. We're almost at 1,400 followers over at automation.locals.com. Also, if you want to let us know what you think, you have an idea, we do have a feedback link or a talkback link. You can just send in your random thoughts about the show. We also have a news tip link as well. And I do want to thank everybody who picked up some of our collections over at the automationblog.com/tab, T-A-B, as well as anybody who's picked up some of our merchandise like coffee cups and t-shirts over at the automationblog.com/shop. And with that, just a reminder, if you're new to the show, every single link that we've covered in all, I think 159 shows now, you will find at automate.news. And they're all tagged and categorized for vendor and type. So if you just wanted to see something from Rockwell or Siemens or Schneider or Emerson, you can actually pick that here in this drop-down list. They also are categorized by, hey, is it an application profile? Is it documentation? Is it a download? Is it a press release? So that's all completely free over at automate.news. And typically after the show, later in the afternoon, I'll get up there and I'll add all these in. Yes, I do that myself every day. So sometimes it's late in the evening, sometimes it's the next day, but usually it's the same day. And with that, excuse me, I just want to thank you for tuning in. I hope everything came through. Again, we're using new software to do this live stream. I hope everything came through. I hope you can hear me okay. I know earlier, the first time we used it, the volume was way low. So hopefully the volume's up. It looks like it's really high on my side. As a matter of fact, I can overdrive it easily. So hopefully you're hearing it well on your side. Hopefully the visuals came out okay and weren't blurry. And I just want to wish you all an awesome day. And because we're on winter hours, we won't be back to Tuesday. So I also want to wish you an awesome weekend. And just want to encourage you, no matter what happens, stay courageous, stay fearless. And until next time, my friends, peace.